In a quiet African village nestled between vast farmlands and tall trees, the people watched with heavy hearts as a gold casket gleamed in the sunlight, being lowered into the ground. The man who buried his father in such wealth was none other than Ndukwe, a man once known as the village's pride. But now people whispered, they shook their heads, some with anger, others with sorrow. They couldn't understand why Ndukwe, with all his wealth, had waited until his father was dead to show such extravagance. Let me tell you the story of Ndukwe and his father, Papa Ndu, for I was there, and I knew them both well. Ndukwe's father, Papa Ndu, was a simple man born into a life of struggle. He worked tirelessly as a farmer, toiling under the hot sun and braving rainstorms to harvest his crops. He lived in a small mud house with a thatched roof, worn by years of storms and sunshine, but he took pride in his little home and worked to provide as best he could. When Papa Ndu's wife passed away, his only son Ndukwe became his entire world. Papa Ndu made a vow. He would do everything to ensure Ndukwe received the best education. He wanted Ndukwe to have a better life, one far from the poverty that had shadowed him. Even though he didn't have much, Papa Ndu worked harder and harder, saving every penny to pay for Ndukwe's schooling. Ndukwe was an exceptionally bright child. The villagers adored him and believed he would grow up to be someone important. Papa Ndu felt a deep sense of pride each time Ndukwe's teachers praised him. But to support Ndukwe's dreams, Papa Ndu had to sacrifice more than anyone knew. He sold his farmland, his beloved goats, and even his mother's heirlooms, which were the last symbols of his family's history. When Ndukwe finished high school, there was nothing left for Papa Ndu to sell. Yet, he still managed to borrow enough money to send Ndukwe to a university abroad. He took loans from neighbors and distant relatives, all with the hope that Ndukwe would someday make them all proud. The entire village gathered to bid Ndukwe farewell, proud yet teary-eyed as he left on the long journey. "Make us proud," they said, patting his back and showering him with blessings. "Don't forget where you come from." Papa Ndu watched as Ndukwe disappeared down the road, whispering a silent prayer for his son's safety. Years passed, and Ndukwe indeed became a success. He excelled in his studies, graduating at the top of his class in computer engineering. Soon, he got a job with a big tech company, and his success grew even faster. Ndukwe worked tirelessly, developing a popular gaming app that brought him wealth and fame. He was invited to conferences, celebrated as a tech genius, and eventually became a partner in several high-profile companies. Ndukwe's fame and wealth were beyond anything the village could have imagined. But while Ndukwe was making a name for himself, Papa Ndu was aging and growing weaker. The years of hard labor had taken their toll, and the quiet loneliness of his small house weighed heavily on him. Neighbors noticed Papa Ndu's declining health and sent messages to Ndukwe, urging him to come back to visit his father. But Ndukwe was always too busy. Each time he received a message, he would reply, "Don't worry, I'll come back in a big way. I have big plans for my father." He wanted to build the biggest house in the village and create a life of comfort for his father. He wanted the villagers to see how much he valued the sacrifices Papa Ndu had made. "Maybe you should start small," a close friend advised. "Send some money for his treatment. Visit him and see for yourself how he is doing." But Ndukwe brushed off the suggestion, saying, "I have great plans for him. I want to return in a way that will make him proud." Weeks turned into months, and Ndukwe remained abroad, climbing the ladder of success. Each time someone urged him to send a little money or to visit his father, he would say the same thing, always focused on his grand plans. Papa Ndu grew frailer, and more villagers noticed. "Ndukwe, your father is not well," they would write in their letters. "He needs you." But Ndukwe's response was always, "Soon. I'll come back soon." One day Papa Ndu passed away quietly in his sleep. His neighbors found him, still clutching an old photo of Ndukwe. The villagers mourned deeply, their hearts breaking for the old man who had sacrificed everything for a son who was not there in his final moments. News of Papa Ndu's passing reached Ndukwe, and he was devastated. The regret hit him harder than he ever imagined. He cried and cried, but it was too late. Driven by grief, Ndukwe decided to honor his father in the grandest way possible. He spared no expense for the funeral, organizing a ceremony like no one had ever seen. He bought a solid gold casket, hired the most expensive funeral planners, and killed 200 cows for the feast. He even built a massive mansion where Papa Ndu was to be buried, towering over the village with its polished walls and gleaming windows. He wanted everyone to see how much he cared for his father. On the day of the funeral, the villagers gathered, watching in silence as the procession began. There were luxury cars, a convoy stretching as far as the eye could see, and people from neighboring villages came just to witness the spectacle. But the villagers did not praise Ndukwe. Instead, they murmured among themselves, their voices filled with disappointment. Why did he not care for his father when he was alive? One old woman whispered, shaking her head. What good is all this wealth now? This is just a show, another added bitterly. Papa Ndu needed him when he was alive, not now when he's gone. A man who had known Papa Ndu all his life said he was a good father, a selfless man. Ndukwe abandoned him, and now he tries to make up for it with gold and cows. It's too late. As the funeral went on, the whispers grew louder, turning into curses. The villagers who knew Papa Ndu's struggles to educate Ndukwe and the sacrifices he had made could not understand why Ndukwe had waited until now to show such love. They raised their voices, some even laying curses on him. May your own children abandon you in your time of need, an elder shouted, unable to contain his anger. May you feel the same loneliness Papa Ndu felt. Ndukwe returned to his world of success, but he could not shake the villagers' words. Each night, as he lay alone in his luxurious home, he saw his father's face and heard the quiet sobs of regret echoing in his mind. He realized, too late, that all the wealth in the world could not fill the gap left by his absence when Papa Ndu needed him most. The grand funeral, the gold casket, and the big mansion could not replace the love, care, and presence he could have given when his father was alive. Moral of the story: don't wait until it's too late to show love and care. Success is important, but family and loved ones come first. Life is precious, and no amount of wealth can bring back lost time. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share to remind others of the importance of love and family.